process of dying is one of the most profound and mysterious experiences that a human being can undergo. Throughout history, people have sought to understand and prepare for this experience in various ways, drawing on religious, spiritual, and philosophical traditions. In this episode, we will explore some of the theories and perspectives on what happens during and after death, and consider how individuals can approach this experience in a way that feels meaningful and supportive for them. One of the most widely recognized perspectives on death is that it represents the end of physical life, as the body ceases to function and the brain activity stops. However, there are many other interpretations of death that suggest that it may not be the final end of our consciousness or existence. For example, some religious traditions believe in the idea of an afterlife or reincarnation, where the soul or spirit continues on in some form or after death. Others suggest that death may be a transition to a different state of consciousness or emerging with a greater cosmic being. Another perspective on death is that it represents a profound and transformative experience, one that can lead to greater understanding and awareness of ourselves and the world around us. Some spiritual traditions, such as Buddhism and Hinduism, view death as a natural part of the cycle of life, one that can help us gain insight into the impermanence and interconnectedness of all things. While there is no one right way to approach the process of dying, there are many practices and approaches that individuals can use to prepare for this experience in a way that feels meaningful and supportive for them. For example, meditation and mindfulness practices can help individuals cultivate a sense of calm and acceptance, as well as develop a greater awareness of their thoughts and emotions. By learning to be present with the experience, individuals may be better equipped to face the process of dying with greater ease and grace. Psychedelic substances such as psilocybin or MDMA have also gained attention in recent years for the potential to help individuals with their terminal illnesses cope with anxiety and depression. These substances have shown promising results in helping individuals cultivate a greater sense of connection, meaning, and purpose in life, which may help ease the transition towards death. Religious or spiritual practices may also provide individuals with a sense of comfort and support during the dying process. Many religious traditions offer guidance on how to prepare for death, such as through prayer, meditation, or rituals that help individuals confront their mortality and make peace with their beliefs and values. Another important consideration when it comes to the process of dying is the potential for pain and suffering. While there is no way to completely avoid these experiences, there are many approaches that can help individuals manage pain and discomfort during the dying process. This may include the use of pain medications, alternative therapies such as acupuncture or massage, or even the support of a hospice team who can provide physical, emotional, and spiritual support. In terms of the experience of dying itself, it is important to acknowledge that it can be a deeply challenging and intense experience for many individuals. This is why it is so important to approach the dying process with empathy and compassion, and to provide individuals with the support and resources they need to navigate this experience in a way that feels meaningful and supportive for them. While there may be ways to prepare for the process of dying, there is not one right way to die, as we know. Death is a natural and inevitable part of the human experience, and it is important to approach it with a sense of acceptance and openness to whatever may come. Whether through meditation, psychedelic therapy, or religious and spiritual practices, individuals can cultivate a greater sense of peace, connection, and acceptance in the face of death. And as we explore the process of dying, it is important to know that the experience may differ for each individual. However, based on research and observations, there are some common experiences and stages that individuals may go through during the dying process. One of the most widely recognized models of the dying process is the Kubler-Ross model, also known as the 5 stages of grief. This model suggests that individuals may go through 5 distinct stages as they approach death: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. While not all individuals will explore all of those stages, or may not experience them in a linear fashion, this model provides a framework for understanding some of the emotional and psychological experiences that individuals may go through during the process. Another aspect of the dying process is the physical experience of dying. As the body begins to shut down, individuals may experience a variety of physical sensations such as weakness, fatigue, pain, or difficulty breathing. These physical symptoms may be accompanied by changes in consciousness such as confusion, disorientation, or altered states of awareness. As the process of dying continues, individuals may begin to withdraw from the external world and become more focused on internal experiences. They may experience vivid and intense dreams, visions, or hallucinations, which can be both comforting and unsettling. These experiences may be related to the release of endogenous chemicals in the brain, such as DMT, or may be related to changes in brain function and consciousness as the body shuts down. Ultimately, as the body approaches death, there may be a sense of release or surrender as the individual prepares to let go of physical existence and move on to whatever comes next. This may be accompanied by a sense of peace, acceptance, or even joy as the individual feels a sense of connection to something greater than themselves. One of the most fundamental aspects of the dying process is the role of consciousness. As we approach death, our awareness may become heightened and we may become more attuned to our thoughts, emotions, and actions. For some individuals, this heightened state of awareness may lead to a greater sense of peace and acceptance, while for others, it may lead to feelings of regret, guilt, or shame. At the same time, it is also possible for individuals to experience a sense of forgiveness, redemption, or transcendence in the face of death. Through introspection, reflection, and perhaps even confession or apology, individuals may be able to come to terms with their past actions and find a sense of peace and closure before they die. Ultimately, the importance of having clear conscience in the face of death cannot be overstated. Whether through religious or spiritual practices, psychotherapy, or other forms of self-examination, individuals can work to cultivate a sense of integrity, compassion, and ethical responsibility throughout their lives. By doing so, they may be able to approach death with greater sense of peace, knowing that they have lived a life characterized by kindness, empathy, and respect for others. In contrast, individuals who have lived a life characterized by harmful or unethical behavior may experience a greater sense of fear, regret, or isolation as they approach death. They may struggle to come to terms with the harm they have caused to others and may be haunted by the past actions in the final moments. Could those experiences be the explanation for heavenly peace and the hellish terror expressed by some of those who had been brought back from the grasp of death. Ultimately, the way we approach death is a reflection of the way we have lived our lives and our personal beliefs. By cultivating a sense of mindfulness, compassion, and ethical responsibility throughout our lives, we may be able to approach death with a greater sense of peace and acceptance, knowing that we have lived our lives with integrity and purpose. As we reflect on the impact of our actions on our final moments, it's worth considering the fragility of our physical existence. The idea of consciousness after death has been a topic of debate for centuries, with some accounts claiming that decapitated heads could remain conscious for a short time after being severed from the body. This controversial topic raises interesting questions about the nature of consciousness and the limitations of our physical bodies, but would I be aware if only my head remained? While it is unlikely that a decapitated head could remain conscious for more than a few seconds, there are some reports of historical cases in which people appear to remain conscious for a short time after decapitation. One of those took place in the early 20th century. It was Dr. Burieux that conducted a highly controversial experiment involving the head of a guillotine victim. The experiment involved observing a head for several seconds after it had been severed from the body to determine whether consciousness persisted. Burieux reported that the head remained conscious for approximately 30 seconds after being severed, during which time he observed the eyes blinking and the mouth moving in what appeared to be a reflexive response to stimuli. He also claimed that the head appeared to show signs of awareness and consciousness, indicating that the brain may continue to function for a brief period of time after decapitation. While the experiment has been criticized for its ethical implications and the lack of rigor in its methodology, it remains a subject of fascination and debate among scientists and philosophers alike. Some have suggested that Burieux's findings may have implications for our understanding of consciousness and the nature of the self, while others have questioned the validity of his claims and the reliability of his observations. Modern science has shed new light on a controversial experiment conducted by the doctor. Whilst his findings have been the subject of much debate and speculation, contemporary research suggests that the brain may continue to function for a brief period of time after death. Recent studies using advanced neuroimaging techniques have revealed that the brain may remain active for several minutes after cardiac arrest or other forms of clinical death. During this time, the brain may continue to generate electrical activity and even produce certain chemicals that are associated with consciousness, such as DMT. And while there are some historical accounts of people surviving for a short time after decapitation, the scientific consensus is that consciousness cannot persist for more than a few seconds after the head is severed from the body. The reason for this is that the brain requires a continuous supply of oxygen and glucose to maintain consciousness. When the head is severed from the body, the blood supply to the brain is cut off, and the brain begins to rapidly lose oxygen and glucose. Within a few seconds, the lack of oxygen leads to a loss of consciousness, and the brain begins to rapidly degrade. In addition to the loss of oxygen and glucose, the decapitation process also causes significant trauma to the brain, including damage to blood vessels, neurons, and other structures. This trauma can cause further damage to the brain and can lead to a rapid and irreversible loss of consciousness. However, it is important to note that this activity is not necessarily indicative of conscious awareness of experience. In fact, many scientists believe that the brain activity after death may be more akin to a death rattle than a state of true consciousness. Moreover, It is also important to recognize that the concept of consciousness itself remains poorly understood and highly debated among scientists and philosophers. While some researchers suggest that consciousness is generated by specific areas of the brain, others argue that it is more of a holistic phenomenon that emerges from the complex interactions of various neural networks. While individual networks may be specialized for specific functions, such as perception, memory, or emotion, it is the way these networks work together and influence each other that gives rise to a subjective experience of the world and ourselves. In light of these uncertainties, it is difficult to make definitive conclusions about the nature of consciousness and its relationship to death. However, ongoing research in fields such as neuroscience and psychology and also philosophy may help shed new light on these fundamental questions and deepen our understanding of the complex interplay between life, death, and self-awareness. While the process of dying can be unpredictable and varied, it is important to approach it with a sense of openness and curiosity. By acknowledging the emotional, physical, and spiritual aspects of the dying process, individuals can prepare themselves for this profound and transformative experience. Whether through meditation, psychedelic therapy, or religious and spiritual practices, individuals can cultivate a greater sense of peace, connection, and acceptance in the face of death. Enjoy the human experience to the best of your ability.